Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. Listen, get the best night's sleep since you've been into crypto. Why? Because you get institutional grade custody for free. Why? Because you get human customer service. Why? Because you can't find human customer service on any other platform with the kind of level and access that you get at Caleb and Brown. That's why. You can go to XRPwealth589.com, start getting the best night's sleep since you've been into crypto too. That's all we want. That's all we want. We want you to get the best night's sleep that you've had since you've been in crypto. This is a great, I'm telling you, this is a great experience. All you got to do is go to XRPwealth589.com. Open your free account. We've got it right there waiting for you. Just click the link below and get started today. You will never feel so good. I'm telling you that right now. Let's take a look. $3.48 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 0.8. 106,000 plus for Bitcoin. 2,600 plus for Ethereum. XRP is 226. We're up 4.6 on the 24, off by 3 on the 7-day. But you know, it's important because the technical analysts have told us that if we get to that 230 mark and hold above that, the bullish sentiment is very good for XRP. So XRP, 227 has been the mark now. So we've been climbing from 216, now 227. I hope we get above that close to stay bullish, and it looks like we might. Now, take a look at this. This is Ripple Van Winkle's new YouTube channel because he's experienced difficulties with YouTube. I have been through this countless times on YouTube. It's a nightmare to deal with. I believe this is what this guy does for his livelihood, too. Let's show him what kind of community we really are, and let's help get him some subs so he can rebuild his channel quickly and get back to doing what he does best, which is delivering great information and content to all of us. There's enough room out here for everybody. Let's show him the love. Let's help elevate him. I'm going to show it right now, and I'm going to give him that subscribe, and I hope you will too. The Bullwinkle Blueprint, at Bullwinkle Blueprint. Please give him a subscribe. Let's get him back on track. Here we go right here. Let's look at this. Vivek Ramaswamy, Strive Asset Management, to raise up to $1.5 billion to buy Bitcoin. You know, if you were ever confused about where this space is going and where Bitcoin may end up with the government, remember, Vivek Ramaswamy worked on the presidential administration, worked with the presidential administration, now running for governor in Ohio, and he will probably win. Right now, this here is telling me where it's going. I think you know too. And then this from Ripple right here. Ripple just landed a heavyweight partner. DZ Bank, Germany's second largest bank, is officially live with XRP custody. Institutional adoption isn't coming. It's happening. That's exactly right. And that's how I've got it too. And I'll tell you, you know, how much longer before we see this happen in the United States of America? Will it be right before stablecoin legislation and the rest of it, or will it come just a day after, right? Sometime after. Well, you know, I'm waiting for the Bank of Americas, the Wells Fargos, right? The PNCs, you know, this is so exciting to see this happening. It is taking place. It is happening now. There's no question. And then we see this over in Europe from the European Central Bank. They are officially launching its digital euro pilot. And they're doing this in conjunction with White Network by White Rock as a secondary platform alongside the XRP ledger. And this is to help power Europe's first regulated CBDC test. The 12-month program will involve 500 plus financial institutions, real cross-border transactions, and full EU compliance, all running on the XRP ledger plus White Network. How about that? You know, hey, everybody, the European Central Bank is launching their CBDC test on the XRP ledger. Come on in. The U.S. stablecoin bill, however, is says it could be delayed from Coin Bureau or killed by the Senate drama. The Genius Act now includes a push to cut credit card fees. The proposal is unrated to crypto, but is being attached to win votes. Critics say, however, this could tank both efforts. I think we all know when you start attaching outside issues to a bill, it can get weighted down very quickly. Let's hope that they come to their senses Meanwhile, we could see that vote for the Genius Act expected in the Senate in the next 2 weeks. Now, with stablecoin market cap approaching $250 billion and potentially reaching $2 trillion soon, conflicts could have significant implications for Treasury financing. The Genius Act allows a Treasury Secretary to grant safe harbor exceptions to permit otherwise unqualified stablecoin issuers. So, in short, what they're really suggesting here is that the Treasury that is really overseeing debt is also going to be an issuer in this regard, and they may find and take issue with that, and the Treasury having dual roles as a debt issuer and having influence also over stablecoin regulation. So it may require more fundamental separation of authorities. We'll see how that goes here. But nonetheless, I'd love to see the vote in the next 2 weeks. Here's Jeremy Allaire from Circle here, and they've said that they're still targeting a $7.2 billion valuation in its upcoming IPO. They've upped their offering of 32 million shares priced at $27 to $28. Now, with that being said here, I want to say I still think Ripple buys this company. I really, really do. I've always seen Ripple as like a Fed 2.0 in the digital world, and I just don't see how they don't acquire this company. You know, here's another part of this. It's rumored that they offered $8 to $9 billion in the offer before they filed to go in the IPO. Now, you know, listen, there's lockout periods in these things, right? You know, private equity holders that were in the market before it went public, they have 6-month lockout, and usually you'll see a dip. So who knows? Maybe they buy them right outright. Maybe they wait until like the fallout of like, you know, private equity holders and the big holders come in and start dumping. But already Circle is upside down, it appears, from the bid and the offer that was given by Ripple earlier. So I could see this actually turning out where Ripple's still at play. I'm completely guessing here, but it just feels right to me. So I'm just putting it out there, and we'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll cover that too. Nonetheless, this is how important stable coins are. Listen to Donald Trump Jr.
But you've heard from people in the crypto industry, I imagine some of your friends who have said that some of these coins and what's happening may undermine a little bit of what's happening because people are questioning it, right?
I have not heard that from anyone, actually. What I hear from those people is like, thank you for doing this. You're giving us the legitimacy that we fought for so long. And this isn't just a conservative issue, Jill. I mean, these are highly libertarian people. You know, this is actually one of those, 50 million holders of, some sort of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, stables, ETH, Sol, whatever it may be. There's 50 million in America, and they're not all right-wing. These are people who just believe in freedom. They've seen what's happening, and they're looking for a corollary and a response.
I got one more for you, which goes to, do you believe, if you believe in the U.S. dollar, which I think we all want to believe in, do we think that crypto, Bitcoin in particular, but crypto writ large, can ultimately undermine it?
Actually, I think the opposite. When you look at what's going on with so many of the stable coins, and as you create utility and those things happen, what we're doing with USD1, it's literally one-to-one backed with the U.S. Treasuries. If you look at some of these big, stable coins, they're literally some of the biggest buyers of U.S. Treasuries in the world, replacing a lot of the countries that would have been traditionally doing that. So if we want to keep borrowing and spending the way we do for some of these programs, I don't necessarily agree with all of that either. I think these stable coins are actually going to be the savior of dollar hegemony in the world, not a detractor from it. I think that goes without question. If you look at even companies like Tether, I think they're the 4th largest holder of U.S. Treasuries in the world. What we're going to do with USD1, I mean, this is billions and billions of dollars of treasuries that other countries who have not necessarily been good actors or who have taken advantage of those things over the years have said they're going to back away from to try to create their own kind of currency to eliminate sort of, the petrodollar, whatever it may be.
Really? Where have we heard this before, ladies and gentlemen? Greg Kidd and myself.
No, well, this is why I love the idea of a basket of assets, right? And I do mean like gold, oil, and digital assets alike. I mean, it just it stands to reason that that's the way you would want to go. I had a conversation a long time ago, back in 2019, with David Schwartz, where I was talking about with him about, having reserves of all kinds of different assets from all over this sector of, whether it's commodities or alike, really stabilize it. If you could underpin the dollar with all of those things, instead of just an agreement to print more or just a petrodollar agreement, then you really would have the confidence of a dollar for the next 150 years. What say you?
I agree.
Oh, that wasn't very tough.
But I mean, you really said it well. I mean, to me, it's just a risk to not take that risk. And,
Right.
and sometimes
There
the
it
biggest risk you
is.
take is not taking a risk.
The risk is not taking the risk. And sometimes not taking the risk is greater than taking it. That's where we're at. The United States doesn't have a choice to play around with this legislation like they got all day. But here's an impacting article here where a few believe in this space. Here's how the Genius stablecoin bill could take XRP to $250, and it's in combination with a few things. So like the legislation being passed as one, as it cites here, and then also going on to talk about the combination of XRP replacing SWIFT. And then that would add in obviously the use of XRP, the real USD, and other things, and the combination of all of these things coming together. And I would even throw into the idea of this 18 to 20 ETFs being rolled out and approved at the same time. You know, I don't know where this goes. And I think that's the fun part of this for me. And I know a lot of us is that we don't know how hard this will actually go. But I'm super excited to find out, and I know you guys are too. But what we do know is that OUSG is on the XRP ledger. And what is it? OUSG is institutional grade product backed by tokenized U.S. Treasuries and BlackRock's BUIDL fund. Represents a natural fit for a blockchain purpose-built for institutional adoption. See how Ondo and Ripple are powering institutional grade finance on chain. The world, the United States is already tokenizing the debt, which is bonds, on the XRP ledger. That's all. You know, I'm sure it's nothing, right? I mean, I don't know what else to say here. And then you have Ondo saying stablecoins did what stablecoins did for the dollar. Ondo is doing for capital markets. In other words, we're tokenizing the rest of the financial system. That's what's happening. And they're already tokenizing the debt for the United States of America on the ledger. This is super exciting. And at the same time, there's a lot of maxis out here, Bitcoin maxis, that are struggling with XRP, and they're trying again to create this FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt by saying that just because it was declared not a security means it's still in some vague world. When the reality is, for me, and this is a great thread by Bill, I'm not trying to not read it, but we're short on time. But I'm just saying that what's interesting to me is that it's Congress that needs to pass the legislation, not to provide clarity for just one asset like XRP or two assets like XRP and Bitcoin. Congress is to pass legislation that provides clarity for the entire market. That's what it's to do. And that, I believe, is the role and where we're sitting here. And that's why I want to see all of this legislation get done this year. That's the goal. And I think we need to focus on that collectively, too, and really make sure we're pushing Congress to do so. Meanwhile, the SEC releases guidance clarifying which crypto tokens qualify as securities, introducing new three-pronged framework beyond traditional Howey test. You know, and I said, goodbye Howey test, hello Ripple test. And here's the breakdown. I'm not going to run through all of this directly here, but it talks about initial sale context, whether the token is marketed as an investment, ongoing use if the token provides functional utility on decentralized network, issuer influence, degree of control retained by founding team or foundation. Breaks down the second part here, ICOs with profit-centric marketing, profit-sharing governance tokens, utility tokens with financial incentives, and legal precedents from court rulings. And then it comes down here. It says tokens with centralized control or pre-mining, and tokens not likely deemed securities by the SEC, fiat-backed stablecoins with transparent reserves, layer one utility tokens for network operations, and we know XRP serves in that role as well. Lack of profit marketing and central control, decentralized open source governance, and you got the rest of it here. And then it says 4 implications of the SEC guidance for crypto industry. The token issuer follows rules, register, change your approach. And then for investors, fewer tokens, but safer markets. For exchanges, stricter rules and more warnings. And it goes on. But those are the breakdowns of what they're laying out there. And I tell you, it looks to me, and look, they're highlighting Stuart Alderati from back in May. And for me, it's just kind of like, you know, this looks like the new test. It's the Ripple test. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. Remember, while we're doing this and going through all of this, You know, SEC sued Amazon, Microsoft, and Tesla, and look where they are now. They are serious players in the financial industry and in these markets. So here's another look at here's XRP price if it handles 100% of the expected annual cross-border volume of $300 trillion by 2030. To go all the way down to the article, first it starts with like a $50 price, then it starts with 30 trillion, and then like a $510.64 price according to ChatGPT, and then it goes on to lay out everything else with it. And it says here, meanwhile, a reuse rate of 50% price could reach $102. However, a higher velocity would suggest a $25 price. And if the tokens were reused 500 times, the price might land near $10.21. So there is a formula to all of this that must be really thought about and factored in. And we can't know everything until we get into real-time usage to understand exactly how fast this market will absorb this new innovation and get itself onto the new digital on-chain economy. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if it's not digitized and tokenized and on these ledgers, it's not a conversation. So the fact that we know that they're doing it with U.S. bonds, we know that they're positioning themselves to be there for SWIFT in a way that SWIFT can't even function, tells me that we are poised to see something pretty amazing in the future. The question is do we have the patience? Do we have the patience to see it through? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.